The Young and the Restless spoilers, The Hunter and the Hunted, Ian Ward versus Jordan. The shadows of Genoa City were alive with danger and deception, and in the center of it all stood two powerful adversaries, Ian Ward and Jordan. Their relationship, once marked by manipulation and intrigue, had now devolved into outright hostility. Ian's motives were clear. He wanted to capture Jordan, retrieve Sharon, and claim his moment of redemption. But for Ian, there was more at stake than heroics. Victor Newman himself had offered a tempting reward, forgiveness and a gift of immense value if he could bring Jordan to justice. The price of paranoia. Jordan's life had become a game of cat and mouse. She moved with relentless caution, her once confident demeanor now tinged with paranoia. Ian Ward's reputation preceded him. He was as calculating and resourceful as she was. To stay ahead, Jordan adopted a policy of invisibility. She avoided direct contact with anyone except her trusted confidant, Claire, a shadowy figure whose loyalty to Jordan was unshakable. "Ian Ward won't find me," Jordan assured Claire one evening in the dim safety of her hideout. "He's cunning, but so am I. He's no match for me." Claire nodded but offered a warning. "He's desperate, Jordan. And desperate men are dangerous." Victor's offer. Meanwhile, Ian Ward was more determined than ever to fulfill Victor's offer. The promise of forgiveness from Victor Newman was too enticing to ignore. Victor, a master strategist, knew exactly how to manipulate Ian. "You bring me Jordan," Victor had said, his voice calm yet commanding. "And we'll settle our score. You'll walk away with my forgiveness, and something more." Ian had no illusions about Victor's intentions. He knew Victor wasn't offering redemption out of kindness. This was a transaction, pure and simple. But Ian also understood that bringing Jordan to Victor was his best chance to reclaim a semblance of power in Genoa City. The confrontation. Ian's pursuit of Jordan culminated in a high-stakes confrontation. After weeks of tracking her movements and piecing together her network, he finally cornered her in one of her hideouts, a dilapidated warehouse on the outskirts of town. Jordan, sensing danger, attempted to flee, but Ian was prepared. Their confrontation was brutal and intense, a battle of wills and wits. Ian's strength and determination ultimately overpowered Jordan's cunning, and with a final, decisive move, he subdued her. Jordan found herself tied to a chair, her wrists bound tightly, her face bruised but defiant. Ian stood over her, his expression a mix of triumph and frustration. "You've lost, Jordan," Ian said coldly. "You're coming with me. And this time, there's no escape." Jordan laughed, her voice dripping with disdain. "You think this is over? You have no idea what you're dealing with." Delivered to Victor. Ian wasted no time delivering Jordan to Victor. She was dragged into Victor's office, bound and defeated, yet still radiating defiance. Victor regarded her with his trademark intensity, his piercing gaze cutting through her bravado. Well, Victor said, a smirk playing on his lips. "Jordan. I must admit, I didn't think Ian had it in him." Jordan glared at him. "Enjoy this while it lasts, Victor. You'll never find Sharon. And without her, all of this means nothing." Victor's expression darkened, but he maintained his composure. "You underestimate me, Jordan. Everyone talks eventually. And if you don't, I'm sure Ian has his ways of persuading you." A secret kept, but Jordan wasn't bluffing. Despite Victor and Ian's combined efforts, she refused to reveal Sharon's location. They tried every tactic, intimidation, threats, and even appeals to her humanity, but Jordan remained unyielding. "You don't understand, do you?" Jordan sneered. "This isn't just about me. It's about power. Control. I'll never give you what you want." Ian's frustration grew with each passing hour. He had captured Jordan, fulfilled his part of the deal with Victor, yet the most crucial piece of the puzzle, Sharon's whereabouts, remained out of reach. Victor, ever the strategist, began to reassess the situation. "She won't talk," he admitted. "Not yet. But we'll find another way." The stakes rise. Jordan's silence only deepened the mystery surrounding Sharon's fate. Ian and Victor both understood the stakes. Without Sharon, Jordan's capture was a hollow victory. Genoa City was on edge, the tension palpable as rumors of the escalating conflict spread. Meanwhile, in the darkness of her confinement, Sharon clung to hope. She knew chance was with her, and together, they were working on their own escape. The clock was ticking, and every passing moment brought them closer to freedom or disaster. The game continues. The battle between Ian, Victor, and Jordan was far from over. Each player had their own agenda, their own secrets, and their own limits. For now, Jordan held the upper hand, her silence her greatest weapon. But in Genoa City, no secret stayed buried forever. Would Ian and Victor's alliance hold long enough to uncover the truth? Or would Jordan's refusal to break turn the tide in her favor? And most importantly, would Chance and Sharon find their way to safety before it was too late? The answers remained uncertain, but one thing was clear: the war for control over Genoa City was only beginning. The shadow of betrayal. Victor Newman stood in his office, his steely gaze fixed on Ian Ward, the man who had delivered Jordan into his grasp. Despite his notorious reputation, Ian had proven himself resourceful and cunning, a quality Victor appreciated, albeit with caution. For now, they shared a tenuous alliance, their mutual goal of subduing Jordan binding them together. "You've done well, Ian," Victor said, his tone measured. "Bringing her in was no small feat, but our work isn't finished." Ian nodded, though his mind churned with unease. He was a man used to pulling the strings, not being tied to another's agenda. Yet Victor's approval was tantalizing. It came with promises of power, redemption, and perhaps even freedom from Victor's looming shadow. But Ian knew better than to fully trust the Newman patriarch. Jordan's dark bargain. Down in the depths of Victor's estate, Jordan sat shackled in a stark, windowless room. The cold walls seemed to close in around her, a suffocating reminder of the last time she had been Victor's prisoner. The memories haunted her, nights filled with pain, fear, and the relentless weight of Victor's wrath. For all her bravado, Jordan's heart pounded with dread. But Jordan was no ordinary victim. Beneath her fear lay a calculating mind, always working, always scheming. She knew Ian Ward better than anyone, having worked with him in secret for years. Together, they had manipulated, connived, and risen in Genoa City's underworld. Now, she wondered if she could leverage their shared history to secure her escape. The next time Ian visited her cell, Jordan locked eyes with him. "Ian," she began, her voice low and urgent, "you don't owe Victor anything. You and we've always had each other's backs. Don't let him use you to destroy me." Ian crossed his arms, his face unreadable. "You think I'd risk everything for you? After all the trouble you've caused?" Jordan leaned forward as far as her chains would allow. "I can give you more than Victor ever will. Secrets, Ian. Secrets that could bring him to his knees. But you have to get me out of here." Victor's dungeon of torment. Victor had never been one to forgive easily, and Jordan was no exception. Her betrayal, whatever its details, had earned her a place in his most dreaded holding cell. The dungeon beneath the Newman estate was infamous, a place where Victor broke the spirits of those who dared to cross him. For Jordan, it was worse than death itself. She could still feel the phantom pain of her last imprisonment, the isolation, the mind games, the physical torment designed to push her to the brink. It wasn't just the physical suffering that haunted her, it was the way Victor made her confront her own flaws, her failures, her worst fears. "You're not afraid of death," Victor had once said to her, his voice cold as steel. "But you're terrified of being forgotten. Of being powerless." Those words echoed in her mind now, cutting deeper than any blade. She knew Victor's methods, and she knew he would stop at nothing to get what he wanted. Ian's dilemma. Ian left the cell conflicted. He had spent years building his reputation as a master manipulator, someone who always stayed a step ahead. Yet here he was, caught between two formidable forces: Victor Newman, a man whose power could crush him, and Jordan, a woman who knew too many of his secrets. If Jordan broke under Victor's interrogation, she could expose Ian's involvement in their past schemes. But if Ian helped her escape, He risked losing everything Victor had promised him. It was a no-win situation, or so it seemed. Think carefully, Ian, Victor warned during one of their meetings. Loyalty to me will be rewarded. But betrayal? That will cost you everything. Ian nodded, outwardly calm, but his mind raced. He couldn't afford to let Jordan remain Victor's prisoner. Not because he cared about her, but because her silence was the only thing keeping his own secrets safe. The price of betrayal. Jordan's predicament was one of her own making. Her history of deceit and cruelty had left her with few allies and even fewer sympathizers. Those who knew her story saw her suffering as karmic justice. She had lied, manipulated, and hurt countless people to achieve her goals. Now, she was reaping the consequences. But Jordan's resilience was unmatched. She had clawed her way out of impossible situations before, and she was determined to do it again. Victor thinks he's won, she muttered to herself in the darkness. But he doesn't know me as well as he thinks. Her plan hinged on Ian, the one person who could tilt the scales in her favor. She had to convince him that helping her was his best option, even if it meant exploiting their shared past. A dangerous alliance. The tension reached a boiling point when Ian returned to the cell late one night. He found Jordan slumped in her chair, her spirit seemingly broken. But when he approached, she lifted her head, her eyes burning with determination. "You need me, Ian," she said, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. "Victor will never truly forgive you. You'll always be his pawn. But with me? We can take him down together." Ian hesitated, the weight of her words sinking in. He knew she was manipulating him, but that didn't mean she was wrong. "What's your plan?" he asked finally. Jordan smiled faintly. "First, you get me out of here. Then, we remind Victor Newman why he should never underestimate us." Victor's game isn't over. As Ian considered his next move, Victor watched from the shadows, ever the puppet master. He had planted seeds of doubt in Ian's mind, knowing the man's ambition would eventually betray him. For Victor, this was more than a battle against Jordan, it was a test of Ian's loyalty. "I'll give him just enough rope to hang himself," Victor mused, a satisfied smirk on his face. But even Victor couldn't predict the chaos that would ensue if Ian and Jordan joined forces. Genoa City was about to become the stage for a battle of wits, power, and survival. The question remained, who would emerge victorious? This continuation leaves the door open for future twists while deepening the psychological and moral complexities of the characters. Let me know if you'd like me to explore any specific direction further.